This week in wrestling headlines, Central Michigan makes an announcement that's going to be huge for the upcoming season. Plus, what's going on with Jaden Cox in Fresno State? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to the Fanco Wrestling YouTube channel for this week's segment of Wrestling Headlines. And there is quite a bit of news to get to today, such as the Central Michigan returning seniors, and there's a bigger announcement that goes along with that I will be talking about. But first thing I want to talk about was this first big piece of news that dropped over the last couple of weeks, which is that Fanco Wrestling has a brand new website. This is a website, if you are a fan of wrestling news, wrestling columns, and entertainment, you're going to want to check this out. There are quizzes such as, how well do you know the Iowa Hawkeyes? The Central Michigan returning seniors is news that actually dropped last week that I wrote an article about on the website. Plus, there's a really cool article about the 12 most bomb announcements for the seniors returning in 2022. Now, this announcement about Central Michigan didn't actually make the list because it wasn't out at the time of writing the article, but I'll tell you what, NC State had some super cool announcements that I did include in the article. You're going to want to check that out. Down in the description below is a link to the site, or you can go to fancowrestling.com. Now, if you want to join in the conversation with captivating articles and resources such as the Flow Wrestling versus Rockfin, which is better for you, I recommend that you check out the Fanco Wrestling site. It's something that I've personally worked very hard on behind the scenes over the last couple of months, and I'm very proud of to launch it. A new website, a faster website than it was before, and this is something that you are seriously going to want to check out. But first, let's get to the wrestling headlines before you even click over to that, and that's that Central Michigan is returning all three of its senior national qualifiers. This is huge news for the Central Michigan program. They announced this on Twitter last week. They said they're not done yet. This Chippewa trio will officially be returning to the mat next season. Let's get it, fellas. Now, this is huge because all three of these guys are MAC champs. And there's an even bigger reason why this is so big, which I'm going to get to. I know I've been teasing it so much, but I mean, and maybe you even know why, but two of these guys are actually All-Americans. Drew Hildebrandt is the All-American from this past season. He plays fourth with, big wins at the national tournament over Liam Cronin, Brody Teske, as well as Sam Latona, which a lot of people picked Latona to make the national finals. Didn't end up making the national finals, but Hildebrandt sure made an impact at the national tournament. Now, Stencel, although he didn't All-American this year, he has All-American in the past in 2019, just fell short this year with a couple of losses. And then Dresden Simon, the other returning senior at 141 pounds. So why is this so big for the Central Michigan program? Well, this is why. They're in the MAC. Okay. Well, the team that won the MAC and has won the MAC the last, I believe, 9 or 10 years is Mizzou. And Mizzou is gone. They left the MAC. They're now in the Big 12. Opening the gates, opening things up for Central Michigan to potentially win the MAC next year. This would be, if they do end up winning next year, would be their first time in 10 years. The last time they won it was in the 2012 season, before Mizzou actually joined the Big 12, or joined the MAC, excuse me. And the crazy thing about this is that the only team that in the MAC that has actually beat Mizzou in the last 10 years has actually been Central Michigan, but that was back in the 2013, their inaugural season in the MAC. So this finally time, if you're a Central Michigan fan, you have to be elated. You have to be excited. They placed second this year, and they may be winning that conference championship trophy. Plus, they could even get more qualifying spots for the national tournament, get more of their guys there. This is massive news for Central Michigan fans. Now, the other piece of news, another piece of headlines is Fresno State. The move to save Fresno Wrestling has started. The move to save Fresno State Wrestling has started with a tweet from Kyle Parko. He's tweeted, "Can the wrestling community do the same for Save Fresno Wrestling as they did for Save Stanford Wrestling?" And this is a very interesting question, and I don't want to call it a debate or anything, but just topic to talk about. Because, of course, the huge piece of news that dropped last week was that Stanford Wrestling is saved. Stanford kept wrestling. The program will return. We're not sure how many guys will return to the program, as I talked about in a previous video, but it's exciting. But then the other program that kind of went under everybody's radar was the fact that Fresno State is also dropping wrestling this year. And as of right now, the program isn't saved. And actually, most guys are already transferring out of Fresno State, such as Kyle Parko, the All-American this year, who All-American this year. All-American this year, He's going to Arizona State. I mean, it's sad to see this stuff kind of happen whenever, it's great for Stanford wrestling, but Fresno State has kind of gone under people's radar because people were so into saving Stanford wrestling, which is fine. Like, I was all about saving Stanford wrestling, but what about Fresno State? It's such a shame because Fresno State added wrestling in 2016, added D1 wrestling again in 2016. They had a multiple-time All-American in Josh Hokett, who actually went to the NFL as a running back. In this year, their first freshman All-American in Kyle Parko. I mean, it's sad to see the way that this is going for Fresno State. And of course, those wrestlers are still going to be fighting for their program, and you're going to see that probably continue even once they are transferred out. Like, Kyle Parko is already transferred to Arizona State, but he's still tweeting to save his program. I'm not saying that he'll go back there or anything, but for the future of wrestling, this needs to happen. Now, the one piece of good news, I mean, it was kind of a crazy week last week between Save Stanford Wrestling is actually alive, between the start to Save Fresno State Wrestling, as well as a new program being added. Now, I'm not sure whether they're D1, D2, D3, but Southwestern Michigan has actually added a program that will start in 2022. So that's kind of exciting news that a new wrestling program is emerging in Michigan. Now, the other piece of news that recently dropped is about Jaden Cox. Jaden Cox is joining the New Jersey RTC. So Cox to New Jersey RTC. He announces it via Twitter. Actually, it was the NJRTC that announced it, New Jersey RTC. They tweeted out, "Welcome two-time world champion, all-around amazing person, Jaden Cox to the New Jersey RTC. He'll be splitting his time between Jersey and the Olympic Training Center as a part-time athlete." Let's go! This is, of course, exciting for anybody from New Jersey, anybody with the New Jersey RTC, and there are quite a few guys already training at the New Jersey RTC, such as Tyler Graff, Nate Jackson, Anthony Ashton are all in New Jersey training. And now that Jaden Cox is added to that RTC, that's huge news for everybody in Jersey. Of course, I mean, who knows what would have happened with Jaden Cox at the Olympic trials had he actually been able to wrestle, with the whole weight debacle that happened at the Olympic team trials. Who knows if he would have made the Olympic team and been the Olympian. But I mean, this guy is a two-time world champ, now training in New Jersey. So you may be wondering, wasn't he at Ohio State? Wasn't he at the Ohio RTC? Yeah, he was. And it's kind of unknown whether he's helping there at all now. He's kind of taken off their website, but not much has been seen about Ohio RTC. And there are some interesting things kind of going on with the Ohio RTC, with Kyle Snyder leaving, with, of course, McKenna leaving, with Jaden Cox now leaving. So what is going on with Ohio State? I think that Ohio State is going to be making some big announcements soon with bringing somebody else in to their program to start training their athletes, and I'm excited to see it. Now, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of this news you can check out on FancoWrestling.com. I have it linked up down in the description below. You are going to love it.